Welcome to the RAG Podcast, the weekly show where I interview recruitment owners who are prepared to tell their unique story of growth. This is all in aid of helping future and existing recruitment businesses who are looking to do similar things. Now, growth means different things to different people. So by tuning in every week, you're no doubt going to find information that's relevant to you.
Welcome back to another episode of the RAG Podcast. On this week's show, I'm joined by Lloyd Gordon. Lloyd is the CEO of Focus Cloud Group, and this is the fourth time that he's been on the show. Lloyd was one of my first guests in 2019. I then met him again in 2020. We then did again in 2022 in the lockdown so he's kind of been with the show at every phase and every studio I've had, and he's back in person with me now in London. The last time we met in 2022, Lloyd had just acquired Cognitive Group, which was a business of 35 staff. He had a 70-man team, and the whole thing was over 100 staff, recruiting cloud-based technologies all over the world. This episode, I really wanted to find out what's happened next. So literally, it just talked about the fact that the acquisition was done and how he completed it. It was a very specific and detailed episode. In today's show, we talk about what went on next. So how has he actually combined two businesses? You've got two cultures, two working arrangements, two technology stacks, two finance functions, two ways of working, two mindsets, two leaders. So we broke it down, and Lloyd gives some unbelievable insights into the things that they did well, the things that they got wrong, and how they've managed to knit these businesses together to feel like one combined group. Now there's 100 people, and they're a phenomenal business with double-digit year growth this year predicted, and he's going on a journey now of 3 to 5 years to raise more money to build the business even further. So this is a very specific episode for anyone who's interested in the scalable growth and how to put two businesses together successfully. Right, let's get into it. Without further ado, Lloyd Gordon, welcome back to the show for the fourth time.
Thank you, Sean.
It won't be the last time. I've got a feeling.
I hope not.
I've got a feeling we got more.
I hope not.
We got more. You are the first.
More of the story to come.
You're the first guest to get to 4 episodes. How does that make you feel?
Really? Oh, I feel privileged.
You were in the first 10 episodes ever.
Yeah.
And you've kind of come with me on every phase. You were one of the first. You were one of the first in the first office.
Right.
One of the first in the second office. One of the first I went remote with, and then one of the first I've brought in the first. You were one of the first I invited to come back in person.
This is part of your plan.
Yeah, I don't know what the next phase is, but you'll be one of the you'll be one of the first. But yeah, it's nice to have you in London. We just chatting about your life and my life. I think we've changed a lot since we met when we first did this stuff in 20.
Changed a huge amount.
I know.
Yeah, changed a huge amount.
So we'll get into Focus Cloud stories.
Yeah.
Before we get into anything, I always start with the overview. So if someone hasn't listened to you or us, just give us like the 30-second what you do and what the company is. I don't want any of the detail, just the high level numbers, industries, that kind of stuff.
Sure. So I'm Lloyd Gordon. I'm the founder and CEO of the Focus Cloud Group. We are a group recruitment company that specializes in cloud technologies. So we have individual brands doing Workday, SAP, Microsoft, big part of our business now. Yep. With the Cognitive acquisition, we have a Dayforce brand, we have a Oracle brand, Salesforce, ServiceNow. So effectively, we're a recruitment company that can help global businesses to find cloud resources for the applications that they're going to be using on a global basis.
It's amazing because it's hyper niche, but you've been able. What most people don't. You've been able to hyper niche in like 8 areas.
Yeah.
So like take one replication, you just replicated the same model
exactly.
And then you've bought another one that already had the brand and it's
exactly
together.
Exactly.
So we've been talking since we started working together when I think you were sub 20 staff.
Yep.
I came to Gatwick and met you in your office, and it's about 15 of us, and we went to the races, and you nearly killed me on a racetrack.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was a good
I still
day.
got the video.
Great day. But I've seen your journey go from that to 25, 30 to 50 to 60. You got to, I think, 70. Then you bought the Cognitive Group, which was the last podcast we did, 2022, was all about the acquisition of that brand. And I knew Jonathan Keane from the TRN. Is he involved at all? Is he?
No.
Totally gone.
He's living an amazing life over in Ibiza now.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's originally from South Africa, wasn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I must meet up with him when I go to Ibiza
Yeah.
next time. So, looking at your life, we'll talk about work in a minute. Like, How would you describe where you are in your life right now? So you're your mid-40s. You've got a business of
Allegedly.
Yeah, you like
40s.
you like Nwankwo Kanu. You actually like 55.
Yeah.
So, but you've got a business of circa 100 people.
Yeah.
How would you describe? Forget business. How's your life right now?
Personally,
Yeah.
or from a business point of view, yeah.
Personal.
Personally.
Forget.
So
work.
yeah, my life is good. My life is good. We moved in 2021.
Yep.
From because I used to live literally around
Yeah.
the corner from the office when you first came in. So we still got that property, and we bought another property down on the south coast. So that's allowed me, I guess, some more personal serenity time, where my house is near the beach now. So for me to get to the beach is 5 minutes.
Is that a morning every day you go to the beach?
Most days, except when it's like this.
Yeah.
Weather-wise, it's down on the south coast. It can be -5
And windy as well.
And I don't wear clothes, as you know, most of the time. So I'm always in my vest because I want to go to the gym in the morning and down on the beach it's not fun. So occasionally I will, but it's not an everyday thing.
And how many kids have
during
you
the
got?
Winter. I've got 5 children.
5 children. Your life is like, because I watch your Instagram to get like the inside of you, and you're always you're always family orientated. You're always winding your wife up with memes.
Yeah.
On a daily basis.
Yeah.
And you're always taking your son to football, watching him, got a Liverpool games. Like from an outsider knowing you to a degree, it feels like you've got a real passion for your family, and like you've got a real, you're focused on it. Whereas I don't want to say you take this in the right way. When I first met you, you had the family, obviously you loved them, but I felt like you were like 99% work. It feels like it shifted a bit.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the better, I think, as well. And we'll talk about business after, but I think over the time that Focus Cloud has developed and developing that layer of management, senior management, then my role has obviously changed, which does give me a bit more time to do the things that I missed out on. I missed out on from September 2015 when I started the company until probably 2021, I would say. It's almost next to nothing on the family side. I missed so much. I missed
What was your routine? Let's just go back. What was your routine back then? What did a day look like for you? Because you didn't. We were saying offline, you didn't sleep.
I didn't sleep
at all.
No,
really.
no, I didn't. So no joke and no exaggeration. Right, in the first 2 to 3 years, I would say, I was working 7 days a week, and I would probably sleep on average about 4 hours a night.
10 till 2 or something.
Yeah, 10 till 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night until maybe 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock. But then, obviously we were talking about the Whoop Band and the Aura ring, right? You realise that when you spent 5 hours in bed, you haven't actually slept 5 hours.
No.
You've just been in bed for that time, right? So as soon as I got access to that, I realised what that was actually doing to my personal headspace, because you know what it's like, and I was a big coffee drinker back in the day, right? And I'd be sitting there for 3 years, right? And I'd be thinking, why is my heart palpitating? And I told you I ended up in hospital a couple of times.
Yeah, you used to go through these periods, I remember, where you'd just go off the rails for like a few days. You'd work like a lunatic, and then you'd just get really ill, wouldn't you, for like 2 or 3 days?
Yeah.
And then you just come back.
Yeah.
And it was like a cycle.
Yeah.
So it's like you accepted the cycle as part of the building of the business process.
Yeah, the cycle for me was to work probably on average, between 16 and 20 hours a day, and that would be 7 days a week. And I had the computer in my my workstation in my dining room.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah, I remember it.
And
I used to jump on Zoom and you could see shit going on in the background.
Yeah, it was effectively in my kitchen, right? And so that was the process I went through for the first 3 years at least.
And how did your wife and kids respond, looking back? How did they navigate you? And did they kind of were they on eggshells a little bit?
Yeah, a little bit tough. It was very tough for them. trying to explain to my kids why I didn't come to certain events. My son's a very big football guy, and I wasn't able to take him training, and all those types of things. But on the flip side of that, I was building a business, which they knew I was building the business, and I did explain to them.
You weren't out partying. You were
No.
You were dedicated. Weren't you?
Yeah. I was just working.
It was the Saturday, Sunday stuff though that you said, and I know it's true because you'd be messaging me a lot on a Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning at 7 a.m. and I'd be like, wow. And because you were like, if your customer gave you a role on a Friday, you were going to be there on Monday morning with the shortlist, weren't you? Like
They'd all have the shortlist by the time they got in on the Monday morning.
Yeah, and that's the bit that I just think separated you from everyone I knew.
Yeah, and that's still the case. I manage a few customers on a high level still today, right? And if there's a very niche role that they've retained me for or something like that, then that will still happen. But in the week, my son goes to football training on Thursday. I go to that football training.
Yeah.
He was at Chelsea every Monday night. I go to that. Whereas before, I would.
But
just
you seem to get to Liverpool games as well. You go up to Liverpool. You travel a bit around that, right?
Yeah. We haven't actually been this year. Probably go to the cup final. Not that you'll be there, but we'll go to the cup final.
Do you think you'll win the league this year? You've got to.
I would say yes.
I would say yes. This is the weirdest Premier League year I've seen in a while because I'd say it's the strongest in like that. There's no top six. Like it's like a top 10.
Yeah.
Fulham, Brentford, Bournemouth, Newcastle. Some cracking team. Like the way Bournemouth just blew Newcastle away at the weekend 4-1. Anyone can lose. Like Liverpool can lose games. City can lose games to that layer week in, week out.
Strongest league in the.
But it's the weakest
world, right?
at the top. So for years we've had City, Liverpool just running away. That's not happening. Yeah. But I think you're the one that will keep. You're just ahead of everyone. City's new signings, I think, will give us a good end to the season. I think we will.
Here we go.
We'll have a good end to the season, but you'll win it. We'll finish second, I think.
Yeah.
I'm confident of that.
Okay.
I'll put money on that one. Second. But we'll be like 10 points behind you, but we'll finish second.
Yeah.
And we'll be ready to beat you again next year. Anyway, so your life is good. There's more of a balance.
Yeah, there's more of a balance.
So what's the sleep like now?
There's more of a balance. I think that I'm able to do more of the personal stuff that I should be available for now than I ever was able to do.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling good. And that's down to, building a business that can sustainably run itself without you having to be there all the time and directing every part of the moving parts of a business. I don't need to do that anymore, which is great.
So when it comes to sleep specifically, before we move on, what does it look like now? How much are you getting and how do you feel about it?
Do you know, this is funny, right? I don't like getting 7 hours. I really don't like getting it. I purposely would go to bed at night with the idea of getting between 5 and 6. 5 and 6 hours is my sweet spot. Any more than that, I feel tired. Any less than that, it's not sustainable for a longer period of time. So going back to the first 3 years, where it was, 4 hours a night, what I used to do is I used to work like that for about 8 weeks. And then I'd crash at the end of 8 weeks. And I'd come down with a cold. It's like clockwork. Yeah. It was like clockwork. And after 8 weeks, I'd have to take 3 days off. And in those 3 days, all I'd be doing is laying on the sofa recovering, But after 3 days, I go back to what I was doing. And people used to say to me, it's not sustainable, right? And I kind of knew it wasn't sustainable. But actually, I'm glad I did it because all that work in the 8 weeks afforded me those 3 days. There was so much revenue, so much results that happened in that 8 weeks. Those 3 days, I deserve those 3 days.
You knew what you were building, though.
Yeah.
You weren't. This is the bit I keep saying on this show, right? I think when I first interviewed you, the whole point of the show was who can scale and exit. Now it's not about that. Now I want the show to be a platform that gives any recruitment owner in the world or aspiring recruitment owner in the world a view into different ways of running a company. So someone like you who has already acquired a business and I think will exit, that's what you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And you've built something for that purpose. Where I think there's a problem is when it's people saying they want one thing and they perform a different way.
Yeah.
It's people saying I want work-life balance, but they're doing what you were doing.
Yeah.
Then they're fucking idiots because they'll end up divorced.
Yeah.
Or I want to scale and exit, but they're not putting the work in.
Yeah.
And they work, part-time, and they control every single decision. So I think it's about, if it's authentically moving in the direction that you set and you feel okay about that, then who's to tell you it's wrong?
Yeah.
You did that. You worked towards something and you've achieved it.
Yeah. The first 3 to 5 years, in all honesty, I didn't want work-life balance.
No.
I just wanted to work. And now I've got more of a work-life balance than I've ever had. It is probably more weighted towards work still, rather than the life. But I'm not missing those things in my life.
What's the routine for you now then? So you get up at what time, and how would you?
4:30.
Still an early.
Yeah.
Still really
but then
early.
I go to bed earlier.
What, you're like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
bed?
People go, "Oh, you get up at 4:30." I'm like, "Yeah." And you should be getting 6-7 hours sleep, or you should be in bed for 6-7 hours, right? Because we know that when you look at your app, whether you've actually got that amount of sleep or not is
I usually lose an hour
down to your app, right?
An hour in bed is not slept.
You can expect to lose an hour, right? So, you need that, for your life and to feel good. Well, I have got that, because guess what? I go to bed at 9.
Yeah, that's the bit I would do that, but my wife is a night owl, and so I've had to compromise. I'm like, I get up at 5:45 every day. I'm off to the gym and I'm back at 7:30. So that's my routine. I go to the gym, I come back 7:30. My wife's up, the kids are up. I do my cold plunge and I cook a bit of food for everyone. I do the school run. I'm on it, and then I'm working from 9. I think I'd be more optimal if I went to bed at 9 o'clock and still got up at that time. I'd feel better. But kids go to bed at 8:30. My wife's like, well, you're already out when I wake up. So where do we get an hour? Where do we have that down? So she likes that hour downtime. So where I need to be harder or stricter is on the 10 o'clock, because it can easily creep to 10:30, 11.
10:30, 11, and then you start feeling tired.
And then I'm creeping into that 5-hour sleep bracket.
Yeah.
And that's when you're waking up on 5 hours and 15 minutes, and then you go into the gym, and then you're having your cold plunge and all that. I feel amazing at 8 o'clock. I feel like I'm fucking Superman. I'm dead at 11 o'clock. I feel fucked at 11 o'clock. Whereas if I had 6 hours sleep, I'm cool all day. And I know that now. I had 7 hours last night, which again, I agree with you. For me, anything longer than that is not good. 8 hours, I feel like shit, which science would tell us we're both wrong and that 8 hours is optimal for living longer and stuff. But right now, I'm quite happy with 6 to 7 and I'm good.
Yeah.
Under 6, over 7, don't feel right. But I'm like an hour more than you. So, okay. So you're at a point in your life where the best balance you've had, like you say, you seem happy. You seem like you've got things in a good place. So let's go back to business. 2022, we did a pod. You just acquired the group. You'd gone from, I think you went from around 70 to 110 people or something overnight.
Yeah.
The due diligence had been done. We went through the process of buying Cognitive.
Yeah.
Once that. Did Jonathan go like on day one, or was there an embedding period with him?
So John had a year earn out, but the great thing was that we already had Paul Knox in place, and he was taking a large portion of the business, the operations of the business from John before we acquired Cognitive.
So John did well to have him as the kind of like
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
It allowed John to go.
It meant he didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
So when he didn't want to be there, and that was part of the deal before we did the deal.
Without Noxie, you couldn't.
It wasn't a problem. If Paul wasn't there, then we couldn't have done it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What did he do for that year, just out of interest? 'Cause I think people will be interested in knowing. You obviously you can only say from your perspective.
Yeah.
But if there's people listening thinking a year would be probably the max I want to do as an earn out.
Yeah.
What was his role in that year?
He maintained some relationships and transitioned some relationships that he had. So we had some high level relationships with some of the big four consulting partners.
Yeah.
So he transitioned those relationships over a period of time, rather than just going, right, I've done a deal with my company.
Who did he do it to? Was it you or to like individual
No, it was
consultants?
individuals within
Senior
Cognitive
end
Group.
consultant.
And they was already getting involved quite heavily with those customers. So the transition period was almost seamless, right? We didn't see any downside to the business, the Microsoft side of the business, when John moved aside.
No.
It just carried on.
So what was the job? Because I used to recruit business change and transformation into the insurance company. A big part of that was it was merger and acquisition, and the people that would come in to embed two businesses. So from a people, process, and technology, two systems, two teams, duplication of roles, that kind of stuff. So I theoretically understand it I used to find people that would go and do that for insurance brokers. But I've never worked in a business doing that. What was that? Talk us through that process of, right, we've got, did everyone come and work in the same office? That kind of stuff. Like, what was the journey from two companies to one?
So initially we didn't want to change too much in the cognitive side. I had a lot of help with the transition of cognitive, right? Because the way I would have done it would probably have failed.
In what way?
Because I would have gone, Focus Cloud is a high growth, high octane business. And, if I'm the CEO bringing a business into the group, then I want that business to be the same. And on day one, I would like that business to be the same.
So you'd have had an expectation of unrealistic.
I would have.
Yeah.
I would have gone, this is the new way that we do things. And that would, of course, those people don't know me. Whereas the Focus Cloud guys,
as well, Lloyd.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Like,
fancy that
so you can sit down. If you don't know me, you'll sit down with me, and I'd say something to you. And I don't like mixing my words really. I like to be very direct, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to be thinking about how can I put this across to you. I just want to say what I've got to say, right? And you should know that actually, if it comes across in that way, it doesn't really mean that. It just means that we got to go and get this thing, And of course, I had 40 odd people coming into the group who didn't know me. Mm-hmm. In fact, there was a number of people that came up after the acquisition, and probably 3 to 6 months into the acquisition, and said, when we first saw you and met you, we thought that you was going to come in and just fire all of us. Obviously that was kind of a silly thing.
What was the culture? How would you describe the culture that John had built that you bought? Like, what if you were high octane, high energy, high margin, multiple screens, everyone in like a fucking racing car seat was what you built?
Yeah.
What were they?
They'd built over a period of I think it was 14 years old, right, when we acquired Cognitive.
And you were like 5,
and
6.
We were 6.
Yeah.
We were 6 years old. So you can imagine the growth curve of both companies. The good thing about the Focus Cloud growth curve was we were able to produce great GP, great net profit, all the things that allowed us to go outside and buy a business. But all the things that you don't think of, like the operations side of the business and the back office stuff,
systems,
that was not ready for that type of group, right? So, and on the cognitive side, because it'd been done over a period of 14 years, and perhaps not the same growth, it didn't have the same growth on a GP and net profit perspective. Otherwise, Cognitive would have bought Focus Cloud. Yeah. But Cognitive's back office was perfect. Like, it was just perfect.
Really well oiled.
Yeah, really, really well oiled. So bringing the two businesses together, and having the help from my chairman to say, what we need to do is we need to get hearts and minds first. So on day one, you can't go, right, this is the new way we're going to do things, and now you're going to come into, this is the way that we've built this magnificent business that's, shocked the world with our results and whatever, right? We can't do that. We've got to do it by hearts and minds. And I'm like, oh, okay. And this guy, and there are people that know better than me, right? So I was a bit like, okay, well, let's do it that way. Yeah. Especially when you've got millions of pounds on the line, it's not even a case of you going, it's my way. No. We're going to do this my way.
So how do you get hearts and minds then from a business that, there's probably a bit of uncertainty for them anyway.
Yeah.
The man who they bought into is gone.
Yeah.
Noxie being there is really powerful because
Yep.
of the continuity. But they know there's change on the agenda. Like say your business is high octane, they can see it, they can feel it. So what did you do?
You just had to sit with them and find out what their problems were, what they'd like to improve, what they are really happy with. There were some working conditions as well that were different to the Focus Cloud side of the business.
Is that like the hours of day and that kind of
So during the deal, I found out that Cognitive did a 9-day fortnight, right? So effectively what they were doing is they were doing 5 days and then 4 days. And I thought, what an amazing thing to do. So I rolled it out across Focus Cloud before I bought Cognitive. So when it came together, it would all be the same. Now, post-deal, you then start seeing the problems of what that could be, right? So what happens if you're not on target? You know, do you get that ninth day? And it starts to, if you're not managing that properly, it starts to irritate you, you know. And we did have some people across the group who were taking the 9th day or the 10th day effectively when they weren't even on target. And then, you know, if you're a bit of a, I wouldn't say I'm someone that would consistently look at people's activity because you trust that they are producing, especially if they're hitting target. You got to do what you got to do, right? And you don't want to come in between that. But when you can glaringly see that someone's below target and you know they've taken that 10th day off, you're a bit like, why would you do that? You know.
But was that an acceptable thing to do in their business?
It was.
So you've rolled it out with it, and you've kind of learned.
And it was.
You don't like certain things.
And it was an acceptable thing to do in the Focus Cloud side of the business. Do you know what I mean? Because we had the original Focus Cloud had some underperformers, and when you say to someone we're doing a 9-day fortnight, they go, "Great, I'm going to take that 10th day off." I'm like, "Yeah, but if you're under target, you can't." But unless you do that up front, unless you put in the parameters of that, then you can't really moan when it doesn't work out for you.
And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So you then tried to change it later, which pissed people off.
No, we changed that over a period of time.
Right.
You know, so
for both brands.
Yeah, for both brands. Yeah.
And how did people react?
Some didn't like it. The thing about putting two companies together is you've got to decide what you want your culture to be. And if your culture is aligned, and our cultures were fairly aligned, but there were some differences, good and bad on both sides, right? So you've got to understand, or you've got to decide what your group culture is going to be. And then over a period of time, you've got to gradually get there. You can't just go, right, tomorrow we're going to do this. Because all sorts of breakages happen on the other side. So, and I had help with that because, you know, I'm an instantaneous person, right? So I had to do that over a period of time, and I'll be honest, it drove me mad sometimes. Yeah. Because it just.
So how long did that take to get to a
point? I know
where
we need to get to, and I think that tomorrow we can get there, but actually that's wrong. Yeah. Because you've got to do it over a period of time.
But that's everything, isn't it? That's like. I'm probably a bit like you in some ways where I'll be talking to someone and as they're explaining something, I've already got to the end result quicker than they've explained it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can you just stop saying that now and go, well, let's just move. I know where you're going. Let's move on. And that's so rude to some people. It's so like, it's insulting.
Yeah.
And then when people don't get to that conclusion quick enough, it can be really frustrating for me at times. And I've learned that I'm an absolute nightmare at that. So I'm like, you have to sit and wait it out and let people come to that conclusion. And this is just a bigger version of that. It's about like
you almost have to
be aware of yourself.
Yeah, you almost have to have like a series of meetings with your senior leadership team because you've got to have your senior leadership team behind you.
Yeah. When
you make any change whatsoever like that, that's going to influence their teams, and you've almost got to plant the seeds for them to go and eat the seeds and get to the end goal themselves. So, in other words, look. We've got a business of 100 people, right? And out of our 100 people, we have, let's say, 20 or 25 underperformers. So people that are just under target, right? And we have all these working practices. These are our hours of work. These are the days that we need to be in the office. These are all these types of things. What do you guys think that we can do to get those 25 above target? Give us some suggestions. and you already know what the suggestions are because you've already thought about it.
You've been working it out.
So you need those guys then to come up with those suggestions, and you almost kind of, if they don't come up with those suggestions themselves, which actually they did, then you would need to, then to go, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, one of the things I've learned over the years is sometimes people got better ideas than I have. You know, I know what I want to happen, and this is how I would do it to get there. But throwing those ideas against your team and talking to individuals, they probably got better ideas on more occasions than not of how to get there.
Yeah. Knowing it's being comfortable, you're not having to make every decision. But again, if you've thought it through, because you're on like day 50 when they're on day 1 of an idea, you're hoping they come up with what you're thinking, and it's all in the same space. So working practices like that were one thing.
Yeah.
And then there was obviously days in the office and things. I imagine was that the same, or did that need?
Yeah. What were we days in the office? So Focus Cloud, the original Focus Cloud guys were in the office, I'm going to say 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. And the focus on Microsoft, which is what Cognitive is now known as, Cognitive Focus on Microsoft, were coming into the office 2 days a week. So you've got half your company coming into the office, half your company not. And that really came to fruition when we put the 2 businesses together in the same office.
Space. So how long did that take from acquisitions done to moving into one building?
Say 6 months.
Where did you find a new spot and put everyone together in it, or did you move them one into one?
We originally put the Microsoft guys into the same original office because we had some space in that London office, and then it was almost like the Microsoft guys are coming into our office.
So then it's better to find a new.
So we just found a new spot. You know, we found a new spot in the same building, and then we moved recently about 5 months ago to a new Focus Cloud London HQ.
Like.
That it's everyone's office.
Where's
now,
that?
Right? That's just over the road. Funny enough.
From here?
No, from our old
London.
office.
Are you London Bridge way?
Fenchurch Street.
Fenchurch Street. No.
Yeah, we were in Fenchurch Street already.
Yeah.
And we found something which was a lot bigger, a lot better.
So how did you get or have you got the Cognitive guys to 4 days, or brought everyone to 3?
Everyone's to 3 days.
Right. So the compromise was.
It's compromised. You've got to compromise sometimes, right?
To what days are they?
And if your performance is at the level, then why change something that's already working, right? And there's an element to me. I guess there's still that element to me of if we went in 5 days a week, you know, could we get better performance? But then there's that element to me of, but you got to think of your work-life balance.
Yeah, you got to think you might get better performance, but then you'd lose more people.
I don't think we'd lose more people.
Potentially, though. If there's
potential
businesses out there that are offering 2 or 3 days from home that are doing well, and these are senior people.
Yeah,
that could be the move, especially a perm bill. That could be the move they need. Also, yeah, you might get more money out of them, and they stay, but they've got relationship problems.
And I don't want that, right? No. And I want people to be. I want people to be happy. I want people to be hitting target. I want people to be earning lots of money.
What days is it everyone the same days? Is it staggered? How do you do that?
We do Monday, Tuesday. Sorry, no, we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the office.
Monday, Friday.
So everyone.
I think that's, again, don't listen to what I'm saying and think I'm telling you you're wrong here. But from all the podcasts I've done, from my own experience, I think binary's easier. So like everyone's in, everyone's out, everyone does Monday, everyone does Tuesday.
Yeah.
When you start going, they do this and they do that and you do this and it's staggered, that's any company where everyone's mixing things up. I just think
it doesn't work.
It feels like a headache.
And it is a headache.
Yeah.
And you know when you bring 2 businesses together, you already have a group of people that know how you work, and if you say something, they know exactly what you mean. And when you bring a team together that don't know all those things, and you're trying to make sure that they're happy as well as your original guys. For me, it wasn't about the original guys, right? It was about, these are my original guys now. This whole company is my original guys. I didn't think to myself.
When you've already got a multi-brand business, though, they're just another brand in the office, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not like everyone's focused on Workday and then you've come in. It's like there's already multiple different brands anyway.
Yeah.
They all just have longevity with you that they don't. But I think the way you built it was in a good shape for that extra brand.
I think so. I think it could consume and it can consume another brand now. It could do two, three different companies now and come into our processes, our back office systems, our CRM.
Do you want me to find you some?
That'd be good.
Anyone listening? Let me know. I only want 50% of the deal.
I'm interrupting today's episode to talk about our sponsor, Atlas, the only AI-first recruitment platform on the market. Now, imagine you had a genuine assistant following you around, listening to everything you said on the phone or in meetings, and then doing all the admin for you that you don't want to do. Well, that is actually possible now through Atlas CRM. It's the only platform with fully integrated AI, so there's no note-taking whatsoever and no need to buy any additional software. Now, they've got so many amazing features, specifically customize and integrate this platform easily, okay? They've got templates that can be adjusted to fit any document requirement and integrate seamlessly across Atlas platform for easy recall. Okay, so Atlas is brand new to the market and launching so rapidly. For the first 200 members, they are offering what's called a founder's license, okay? And the founder's license is going to be a 40% discount for life. Okay, and it's only for the first 200. Now, if you want to be in the first 200, you're listening to this episode through the RAG, you're going to have a great chance. Go to www.recruitwithatlas.com/the RAG and sign up on that page. All right, let's get back to the show.
So, what about systems? Technology? Because people is the biggest bit, hearts and minds, I get that, and the workplace, and there's always work to be done, but technology is a big one. Cost of technology, duplication of technology.
Yeah.
Like you say you had a back office, they had a back office. What do you do there?
Yeah. There's no way. Like I don't know whether it qualifies as being like an OCD type person, right? But if you ever came to my house, you would see that all of the TVs in all of my house, they have to be the same make, right? So I'm very like they've got to be the same. You know, my office at home, the monitors can't be different. They can't be different monitors. It just drives me mad. So
are you an Apple guy when it comes to your devices or not?
Yeah, when I've got my comms, I guess I'm an Apple guy. I'm a Microsoft guy elsewhere, so I can't get on with Apple Mac.
I love my Mac.
I hate Apple Mac.
I'm the opposite. I can't stand a Microsoft device now.
Really?
Once you go Mac, you don't go back. That's the truth. Quote me on that one. It's true. I used to say, "What the fuck is this?" And once you got a Mac, you're right. I'm right. Producer's looking at me saying I'm right. Genuinely, once you go to a Mac and then you go back to playing with Microsoft, you're like, what is this crap?
See, I think it's the other way around.
And the fact it syncs to my phone and my watch and everything, I'm like, it's all one.
It's Microsoft. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's just the connections. So yeah, I guess for comms, I'm Apple.
Yeah.
And for everything else, I'm Microsoft all the way.
So all right. So when it comes to monitors, systems, did you bring all the kit and hardware in that they had in the original office, and then you've had to rebuy it all? Like what?
No, because Cognitive were in a WeWork office, so they were in the WeWork office for 2 days a week, and that was a difficult thing for me to understand because you go into the Cognitive office on a Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday and Thursday, go into the Cognitive office on Tuesday and Thursday, and there was different companies in the same office as them, right? And I'm like, we got to be on the phone. We got to be selling. We got to be acquiring new customers, and that's very difficult when you've got other companies in the same office.
You don't even know who they are.
You know, it's like shh.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, that's not going to do. So, the earlier I could bring them into the same office as.
So did they just have a lot of laptops they brought with them?
Yeah.
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 And then, did you? Because you used to have that multiple screen. Everyone had the same chair. Like I know what you mean about the kit. You walk into a Focus Cloud office and you're like, right, I'm in a. It was like a load of gamers, headsets on, screens. It's like a cockpit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Have you done that again?
Yeah.
Everyone's got that now.
Yeah. Yeah. We got two monitors, and then your laptop is the third one. You don't have to have the laptop as the third one, but the laptop's obviously running the two monitors in anyway.
And then
some people don't. Some people don't. Even to today, right? So we've given everyone the two monitors. And there are some individuals that still prefer to sit there with one screen. I'm like, I don't know how.
See, I've never had 2 monitors, and I would love it, but the technology, the thought of setting it up puts me off.
All you got to do is plug it in, Sean.
I know, but I've never done it, and I'm just like, I can't be bothered thinking. If you came to my office, spent an hour, and did it, I'd be happy. But
I could not run one monitor, not a chance.
Well, I've managed it for my whole career. So
once you have two,
so it's the same as the Mac. Once you go Mac, you can't.
Once you go 2 or 3 monitors,
you're done.
You can just move your applications between the screens.
Yeah.
You know, so I like to do things all at the same time. Whereas on one screen, can't do that.
So you got everyone. What about like CRM? How did you know you were going in with both Bullhorn or something like? How did that look on the day?
I was open, right? I was genuinely open. So we had Bullhorn. We've been a Bullhorn customer since I started the company, and Cognitive had a different CRM, and I thought to myself, right, we're going to go to a uniform CRM. We're either going to go Bullhorn or we're going to go with their system.
What did they have?
They had the Microsoft XRM, isn't it?
Built
XRM.
on Microsoft, right?
So, and I looked at that when I had access to their CRM, and I was a bit like, it's not. I can see the fundamentals are the same as Bullhorn, and the back end is the same, but the front end is not the same. You didn't have the same reporting capabilities with Cube 19. Cognitive were actually an ex-Bullhorn and Cube 19 customer, and the general consensus in the team was they would like to go back. So it was ideal. We just, within a few months, we transferred over data, and we was all a Bullhorn shop again.
So that's actually quite smooth.
Yeah,
because that could be a big problem.
Well, it was either going to be a problem for this side of the company or that side.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I guess you have to just make the call, right? As the CEO, you just got to go, this is what we're doing.
Was there any contractual issues with Microdeck or XRM, sorry? Were they all right?
Yeah, they were fine. It was coming to an end anyway, so we just run the contract out. And most of the other areas of our business are Microsoft anyway, right?
Yeah.
So we are a Microsoft partner. We use as many products as we can in Microsoft with Copilot, all those types of things. So it's not like Microsoft are not going to have us as a customer anymore. Of course, everything's Microsoft in our business apart from our CRM
and Teams and everything like that.
Yeah.
So the finance back office.
Yes.
Were their businesses the same amount of contracts as yours? As in not the amount of contractors, but was the split the same in terms of they did perm and contract?
Yeah.
And you had perm and contract, right? So their back office really well oiled. You've got a back office that perhaps wasn't, but you had a bigger business.
Yeah.
So that must have been a challenge. Like, what did you do there?
So when the group formation happened, we had to hire someone else a new finance person to come in to kind of put this all together, and then the problems started. 2023, our systems, because we were basically running on effectively Focus Cloud systems, and Focus Cloud increased contractors by an extreme amount. And then the problems started in the back office, so we had bringing those two businesses together with that workload. The back office systems that we had at the time just wouldn't support it.
What were the symptoms that it weren't working, like missed payments and that stuff pisses you off a bit?
I thought this was in my background now, and I would never have to talk about it. So timesheets not being approved on time. There was 2 different timesheet systems. Some contractors didn't get paid on time, and we dealt with it. We dealt with it really well.
I know knowing you would have been like,
this is really important, right?
Bread and butter, innit?
Yeah, these people, we got strong relationships with these individuals over a period of many years, and to feel like you've let them down because you've almost made your business too big too quickly without thinking about the back office side of the business, and perhaps not having the right people in back office as well was quite hard. It was quite hard. It was quite a hard period. for me. So what we did is mid 2023, we started to think we need one uniform finance system. And, we are a business that are doing, 85, 90 million, right? It's $100 million business today. So we need $100 million system, right? So that's where our relationships with the vendors came in really useful.
Because you recruit this stuff, so
that's what we do.
Well, who did you go with then?
So we went out to RFP late 2023, and we selected, say, four vendors. For me, our biggest area of the business, and the one that I've got perhaps the longest relationship, is Workday. So Workday were on the list of the RFP, and we went through the sales process with Workday for Workday Financials. We're a small business to them, so Workday is actually known as being a system for large companies, and actually, you can be a business of 50 people, and still have Workday internally, so you can get a world-class software in your business, even if you've got 50 people.
Is it priced accordingly though, that you think, fuck, I'm spending a lot on this stuff?
Yeah. But you pay for what you get, right? So we looked at 4 different systems. We went through the sales process on 4 different systems. The Workday sales process was so much better than all of those processes that we went through. So we chose Workday. Yes, it is the most expensive, but you do get
in a way as well.
Though, it's
cool though, because what you're saying is, we're going all in on Workday, and actually they can see your financials.
Yeah.
So you're not because I know you've got some amazing partnership relationships.
Yeah.
They can see that you're not. It's not even like you have to describe how good your business is to work with them. They've got a foothold in it anyway.
Yeah.
That just glues you together.
We're already in the ecosystem in a big way in Workday. So to then have the software internally was a great thing.
And then you've got a partner relationship, because they're going to give you an account manager type relationship, aren't they?
Yep.
So you've got that you've got every side of the coin covered with them, which is really clever, as well as great for the business. And has it been the right move in terms of
100%?
It's just slicking.
Yeah, 100%. It's it took us 14 to 16 weeks to implement it. We chose one of the partners that we had a relationship with as well, because you buy the software directly from Workday.
Then you get an implementation partner.
And then you have to use an implementation partner to implement it. So we use them. The great thing about us as a business is we provide those individuals that implement this software for customers.
Yeah.
So we didn't actually need the full service from the implementation partner, because we could supplement it with our own people.
Get a few of your own contractors.
Which is what we did.
So you had to put a couple of contractors on a day rate for yourself?
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, which took a lot of the heavy load away from the partner, which is great, because they didn't have to apply lots of different resources to our project. And at the end of the day, we're a small fish, right?
Yeah.
It's a small project. So for them, it was kind of like, we want to give you the best service for, I guess, the most amount of money we can possibly charge you. That's just business, in the quickest amount of time. And having our own internal resources supplementing that was really helpful.
And now it's a
both.
business as usual project.
Yeah,
it's running.
Yeah,
and how
yeah.
big's the team that services that whole process?
So finance specifically is about five people. We put our staff on Workday training, so you get like a customer certification, so they've been through the training course and things like that, which is great for them, great for their careers. Workday went live 8 weeks ago, and it's been amazing.
And have you got the whole like HR system bit in it as well?
No, we haven't got HR. So we haven't got HR. We went for we bought what they call platforms, so HR, finance, and adaptive planning. So it's like a finance software that gives you strategic overview of your business. So we got planning as well. And what we implemented first off was Workday Financials.
Which is the most important.
Next year this year, we may roll out our HR. We've already got a HR software, so we use a HR software called Dayforce.
Yeah.
and that works really well in the business. But it would be good to have.
Does it integrate with work?
It does. It does integrate with Workday, yeah. And we use Dayforce for payroll as well. So what we're trying to do is streamline all of our back office systems and processes, and it's worked really well, you know.
And eventually, it'll probably all go on Workday. It makes sense if you
it could
financially and system wise. So, people, process, technology is coming together.
Yeah.
But we know the market's been pretty shit for at least, I think you said offline that 24 was all right, but 23/4 for most people I know was a difficult time. Talk us through. So you buy a business in 22 off the back of the boom time.
Yeah.
John says, "See you later," and then he goes, "What happened?"
I wouldn't say it didn't do that,
No.
right? We had some challenges in 2023.
Yeah.
You know, part of how I think this is the challenge around it, right? So I always think 100% positive about everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the run up to that deal, I wasn't thinking about what ifs. I was thinking about we're going to make this great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to work, you know. And you complete the deal in 22, and then you have a market dip in 23. As a group, not only the acquired business.
No.
As a group, we had a market dip. We grew contract really well, but our perm revenue took a bit of a hit because of market conditions.
How much of a hit?
Circa 1.5, 1.7 million.
What's that as a percentage though, in terms of what you would normally do? How much of a percentage drop did you see?
10%.
That's not too bad.
Yeah. What is when you're supposed to be bringing together a group that's going to grow?
Yeah.
You know, it didn't go to plan, and you had to navigate all of those challenges. So 2023, mid 2023, we're at 107 people. We continue to grow. We actually moved the Crawley office to Brighton, and the idea was to bring lots of individuals into our Brighton office. And of course, right in the middle of a market dip, you get to a really strong number, but then you look at the individual contributors and you realize that if I was to remove 15, 16, 17 people from my business, it makes no difference. So that's what I did. Yeah, that's what I did.
When you say it makes no difference, they were just underperforming.
Just underperforming.
And you'd put it down to them or the market or both?
I would say a bit of both.
Yeah.
Because one thing you've got to remember here is we've got several circa £1 million billers in our business that grew their book in 2023. So you can't say
It's purely
blanket,
market.
it's market, it's not market. There's two things. When you have a downturn, it's how much you're thinking about that downturn and how much your mindset is opposed to believing that there's if you're thinking, great, there's a downturn in the market, and 95 or 99% of recruiters are going to be accepting that this is why they're not doing so well, I can clean up.
That's an opportunity.
That's a different mindset. The problem is when you have the lion's share of any company, right? And some of them don't have that mindset.
So when you say 15 people, was there not a part of you that thought if we hold on for a year, then the market does return to better conditions, they'll just carry on where they were, and because now you've got to replace those people, right? So was that not a consideration?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
It's not a massive problem for us to attract people. It's attracting the right people, and many of those individuals I didn't think were the right people.
Didn't have that mindset. That you
didn't have the mindset to get through the
How do you
conditions.
test that? So let's say you meet another 3 to 5 year recruiter who's saying they want to join the cloud group, Focus Cloud group. How do you test on that mindset?
Well, you'd ask them what their results have been in tough times. There's all types of different questions.
How did they respond to the tough times?
How can they respond to certain situations? Are they really a new business person? And that was a bit about where we had a small clear out of people that just wasn't new business people.
No.
So if you're not bringing in the business because of challenging times, and actually the core staff that you've got are strong enough to deliver the service that you require to your customers, and these people can't bring in new business, why do you need those people in your sales team at the time? It is what it is. It was a horrible day, Sean. Really was. It was. In the run up to it, I was like, I'm going to have to release 15 people.
How did you do it?
Yeah, and I'd never done that before.
How did you do it?
There was 2 offices, so Brighton at the time, and London. And what I did is I just went into London and called each individual in
on their own.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And told them that they were kind of surplus to requirements because of performance.
Did they have a notice period and that you'd have to pay out and things like that?
Yeah.
But you let them go on the spot, pretty much.
Yeah. And people think as well that those things for managers, leaders, CEOs, whatever you are, they think that because you've handled it visually really well, they think it's easy.
But it stays with you, and you go home and you think about
of course.
it. Yeah,
of course.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
We let 25 people go in 2023.
Did you?
Yeah, we shut a whole division down. So the whole thing we did together originally, the managed service agency, that we don't do it anymore. We don't have it, and it was doing like 1.3 million in revenue, and we had a team of delivery people. So they weren't salespeople; they were all doing the product. But we had contracts coming to an end at different points of the year, so I couldn't even go in and go, I want you all gone now. I had to manage the size of the team based on the length of contracts.
And you've got your customers, I'm guessing, in 2023 saying we're not going to renew.
Yeah, some wanted to, some didn't, but we weren't going to give them an option anyway because we didn't want to do it. And it was hard. It was like death by 1,000 cuts because you had to keep people's morale up to finish the projects, knowing that they were probably going to go.
Yeah.
But you couldn't tell them they were going to go, and it was horrible. It was a fucking horrible year.
Yeah.
To the point where at the start of last year we sat down as a group and said, I don't want to lose anyone this year. Like I was really open, and we had one guy who was on a contract that didn't stay, but everyone else was still with us at Christmas, and it was a really good year, and it was really nice feeling that and I had to be so open with the team to say, look, we're going to be here at Christmas. To give them the confidence because they saw their peers go, and they were like, "Well, who's next?"
Yeah,
and it was just, but there was loads of people in there.
We had a bit of that.
Yeah,
we had a bit of that. Like especially from the Microsoft side of the business, and it's great that we had, we have Paul, because he's like the communicator. So no one's going to come to me 6 months after we've just bought a business and go, who's next? I've just seen you get rid of 15 people. Who's next?
Yeah.
They're going to come to someone that they know.
Yeah.
And then obviously he comes to me and then mentions that that's been a thing. And we managed that really well, right? So there was a few people from each individual brand. There was a couple of people that were in the early days with the group as well. And it was just one of those things that I just had to do it. And it, I would say 3 of them wasn't even their fault. It was just business needs to scale back. Business needs to maintain its trajectory. And unfortunately, this is what we've got to do.
So you took a bit of cost out. With that, you take a little bit of that underperformer mindset as well. You got a more positive. What happened next, and how are the last sort of 12 to 18 months being at that 80 recruiters or whatever?
So we returned to kind of winning ways in 2024. So we're currently in 24-25. So our year end is at the end of March, and we're forecasting double-digit growth. So we've got slightly more robust performance management process than we had ever, So it's.
Do you get involved in that stuff, or is that more Paul's role?
To a certain extent, but it's Paul's.
Yeah.
It's Paul's bag. One of the massive positives with buying a business is that I think that because it was the first time I'd ever bought a business, I was thinking I'm going to have access to this Microsoft ecosystem that we haven't got access to. We got revenues in there, customers in there that we can cross-sell. Absolutely fantastic. And one of the things that, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really probably appreciate as much as it's happened now is the people, you know. Obviously, you know that there's individuals in there that you want as part of your group. I'm not saying you don't think about that, but I didn't think about how much some of those individuals have improved the group.
Yeah.
You know,
overnight you're bringing in a ready-made team, right? It's a squad.
Yeah.
That you could take years to build yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely years. And you get that overnight, and as long as you can get those people bought into the vision of
Did you
the
meet
group,
every one of them in the due diligence process?
most of the seniors, yes. Yeah.
Because that'll be a part of you buying it, won't it? Like,
Yeah.
just do you feel like there's a gel there?
Yeah, and some of them there was an amazing gel. Some of them there was a gel, and some of them there wasn't a gel.
Yeah.
And over time we've removed some of the underperformance from the Microsoft side of the business as well. But we're a group now.
Yeah.
So we do that as a group moving forward.
So where you are now, we've talked about your life. I think what I'm always trying to do on the show is I'm always trying to think what would a listener want to ask. So I think if I was a listener, what I'd want to know now is like, what is your job like when you get to the level you're at? So circa 100 people, you've got a COO who's really good at his job. Like, what are you actually doing on a day to day, and where do you spend your time and energy?
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
Yeah, so over time, my job has changed quite a lot, right? In the first 5-6 years, billings within the company were very high. Certainly in the first 3 years, it was top performer without a doubt, as you would expect, right? And that's where my value lies.
That's what we spoke about in the previous show.
So over time, your influence on individual billings diminishes, and then when you do an acquisition where you bring someone in to effectively do 80% of your job, there was a period where I was like, oh, so what do I do now then? Because my job had already transitioned from being, a super biller to being the leader, of people. And you kind of sit there and go, well, what do I do now then? Because I don't really want to feel like I'm not needed. And there's a certain skill set. I feel like Liam Neeson now. Certain amount of skills that I've acquired over a period of time. I will find you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's so many different skills that I have. So what I've had to do is almost recreate my own role.
Yeah. So what does it look like?
So my role is I take care of senior relationships with some of our customers, our big customers.
Across all areas, or just
across all areas. And
give us an example of what that would look like. So what would you sit with an MD of a brand who's like, we really want to, you're looking at his business going, I think we should penetrate this vendor better or whatever.
Yeah.
What would you actually do?
So the vendor and the customer is two different things.
Yeah, you got the end user and you got the vendor, right?
Yeah, or you've got a partner like a consultancy or something like that, right? So, for example, on the partner side, I would make sure that we're plugged into the right senior people within that partner, and I would probably take on any like retainers, or I've done multiple placements this financial year with with partners that needed that retainer type service where you're directly plugged into the C-level people. So it's.
So you're gonna go right. I'm just making this up, right? So service now. You sat with the MD and you're like, right, I want to help you develop this.
Yeah.
Are you going to genuinely just start picking up the phone to the top and saying, look, we don't even know each other, but I'm the founder of this business that you're working with, and could I come and meet you? Like, is it that granular? Like,
it could be. Yeah, could be.
Or it'd be like, you get me in a meeting. The next meeting you have, I want to be with you on it. Like that. Is it like this a two-pronged?
Or you help, or I help. So build a relationship directly with a vendor, and where does that lead us?
What's your mindset? Because this is another slightly off topic, but I think it's partly why you've got to where you are, and plenty don't. How do you approach, from a mindset perspective, how do you approach a conversation with a vendor or an end user, like the value? How do you, what sort of value do you feel you can bring, and what's the mindset on that first interaction?
Well, I think every vendor. So if you imagine for us as a group, you've got effectively 3 audiences, right? So you've got your vendor, so your sector effectively that you work in. So we've got these different
Workday,
brands,
for example.
Yeah, Workday, SAP, Oracle, etc., etc. So that's one of your potential customers, and then you've got the partners who work with those vendors, and then you've got the customers who work with the partners and the vendors. So there's 3 different streams of audiences. So you would want to decide, well, what do you want this vendor to think of us as an individual brand, individual company, and what value do I want to bring to that vendor? Because there's no doubt that we can bring extreme value to all partners. We can bring extreme value to all end users, but what value can you bring to the vendor? And there's a value add with those relationships. So that's what I take care of. I take care of making sure that we're plugged into the right people at the right times, and we know everything that's going on within that vendor ecosystem, within that particular country. And here's where it becomes a challenge, because each individual vendor has a different team for each individual country.
And they're all over the world.
So effectively, you have to have, say there's 10 different countries in the world. Yeah. You have to have 10 different conversations, because each individual country operates and got different challenges to other countries.
So you'll be like, right, it's my mission now to go and get hold of all 10.
Yeah. And I like doing that.
Yeah,
I like those senior relationships. I like helping. I like finding out about what those businesses are challenged by, and how 9 times out of 10 we can put a solution or a service around what those challenges are. So we're actually adding value, significant value, to not only their customers, to their partners, to their end users.
Yeah. So that's your primary job when it comes to the external facing bit. Yeah. So what percentage of your time would you say is focused there?
80%.
Right. So the 20% is doing what?
Is managing the business. So Paul does the data. So our relationship's very good. Like he's very strong where I'm perhaps a little bit weaker, and I'm very strong where perhaps he's a little bit weaker. So put the 2 together, and you've got a ready-made individual that can do all areas of that C-level job.
But that 20%, I'm guessing you'd look at training people, inspiring people.
Yeah.
Like it's more like getting under the bonnet of what they're doing and giving them that inspiration and support.
Giving them the idea that perhaps they haven't thought of.
Yeah.
So they're approaching a customer, or they've got a relationship with a customer. Well, have they thought about this? Have they thought about that? Can we help them? Can I help them with that? Can I come along to a meeting? Can I influence the decision maker with those? So, yeah.
And what does your calendar look like on an average week? Like how many hours a day do you put into meetings, and how much time is the Lloyd thinking time?
I don't think I've nailed the Lloyd thinking time, in all honesty. I very rarely have a lot of thinking time. When I'm in London, a lot of my day is taken up with meetings, but then it results in business. Do you know what I mean? It results in better relationships with those individuals. So that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I do think I need to carve out more thinking time. This is still relatively early days, right?
I think Monday, if you've got Monday and Friday where you're not going to be in offices, that's got to be it's got to be carved out a bit of time in there, hasn't it? Where you're like, because that's how just so you know, my life, it's like Monday I put to like marketing, operations and strategy. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday I'm on meetings fucking from 7 a.m. to whatever time. Not in the evening. I'm pretty much done by 6 o'clock. I don't like evening meetings. I'm like, that's my wife and kids' time. But in the morning, I'll do 7 a.m. stuff and things like that. 6 a.m. in Australia sometimes. Friday again is more reflective. It's partners, it's suppliers, it's team, it's
meetings with those people, or just
so Monday I don't like meetings. I don't really want any meetings on a Monday if I can help it, other than internal stuff. And then pure customer Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday is I'll talk to suppliers, and because we have people doing things for us and things like that. And again, is it foolproof? No. Do I have weeks where I have to override things? Of course. But I have since implementing it at the beginning of December, end of November, December, because I felt like I was context switching too much.
Yeah.
I'd be like, one meeting was with a partner, then I was talking to a client, then I was talking to my team, and I was like, my brain's goes, I'm not good enough at, I'm pretty good at this, but if I could say today I'm going to be like nailing marketing and my content and my strategies, and then Tuesday I'm like all about new business, and then Thursday's all about my client base, and I find it easier that way.
Yeah.
It's working.
It's funny you should say that, because if you looked at my diary, it's all different colours.
Yeah, I have that.
And
color code every meeting, so I know straight by just looking what kind of day it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's separated into effectively 3 days.
Yeah. I've got internal, sales, and existing customer and supplier. They're the 4 colours.
Yeah.
Internal's like a pink. Red's face-to-face meeting. Purple is a sales meeting online. Blue is clients, and green is any supplier non-sales type meeting. So I can literally look at my calendar without even knowing who's in it and see what kind of day I've got. I know I need to move shit to a different day. Orange is podcast.
Right.
So I've got a lot of colours, but it works for me.
Yeah.
I think I'm a very visual guy in my head. I think I need to be like that.
Yeah.
So we're running out of time. I could talk to you forever. And we'll have a part 5, there's no doubt. So if we were just going to go, right, final question is, what do you see as the future? Not pinning you to anything, but 2025, high level, where do you want this to go now? Because you're at an amazing place in both your life and your business. What's next?
Yeah, we're in several different processes at the moment to get external investment to really push the business forward for the next 5 years.
Right.
So we'll see where those go. I want to create value for our shareholders. We've got a great EMI structure in place for people, so people are going to do very well, out of being part of Focus Cloud, which I think I've always promised people. I think if you go back to the first or second podcast, I said that I want to do really well out of this, but actually I want the people who help me to do really well in Focus Cloud. I want them to do really well as well, and I think we've got that right. So if you looked at our EMI plan, it's just, I was told that it's far too generous, in fact, but that's what I promised. So it's everyone's got an opportunity to do really well, and we'll see what happens with our current processes that we're in at the moment, and then we'll push forward for the next 3 to 5 years, and
you not look too far beyond that.
I think you don't know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen, so you've just got to.
I remember when we met, you said, what was it, about 50 was the age range that you said. You don't know what beyond that. You don't really see anything. You just like, that's where I'm going to run till I'm 50, and then so that's what 3-4 years away.
It's 3 years.
3 years.
3 years away.
Yeah, and it's still a number in your head that.
It's
like just a benchmark number that you're working towards.
It's just I want to be in a certain position by the time I'm 50.
Yeah.
And what happens to my career after that, I don't know. It depends what situation I'm in at that particular time. Depends on a number of different things. So I don't feel like I'm coming to the end. Not at all. I feel like it's almost like this is just the start of something. I don't know what that something is yet, but we'll see.
I think again, I can't advise you because I ain't done it. But from all the people I've interviewed who've been through that process, having a second horizon, having something already thought through has helped them. The people that have just gone, all I care about is exiting this business or whatever, and then I'll figure it out. They have the most underwhelming experience. They feel flat. They feel lost. They feel empty. They're lacking purpose. And then often they just start another fucking recruitment just to give them something to do. So I don't know. I think we've already spoken. I think you've already got a couple of ideas. So I'm really excited to see what. And it might be that we have you on before. It might be that we have you on in 3 years. This show's going nowhere. So thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for.
Thanks for being so honest each time.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I think you've always been a good communicator, but I think I've seen a difference today.
Yeah.
The way you explain things is just crystal clear. There's less of the raw emotion that you brought in the first few, which I think is testament to the journey you've been on, the development you've had, the people around you. You can see it in the way that you speak. So, congratulations.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a change in myself over effectively almost 10 years. You know, so I would like to think that I'm a lot better than I was, and a lot better leader, and add a lot more value in the places that I can absolutely add value to individuals and companies. So, yeah, I would agree with that. Thank you very much for noticing it.
Thanks for coming.
Cheers.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you as always for listening to today's show. I truly hope that you got value from it. Honestly, it's the only reason I take time every week to ensure that my audience, you guys, future and existing recruitment owners, you're learning from each other to make this industry that I love so much stronger. And today's episode is brought to you by my business, Hoxo. I'm the CEO and founder, and we're on a mission to help brand recruitment agencies and their people better. I want to help people have the tools to stand out in the most competitive markets in the world. So I'll see you again next week with another episode. Catch you soon.